Welcome to Crimson Guitars, welcome to my home studio, and welcome to Luthiers Question Time number 67. This is a live stream from my home workshop at the end of my garden where I answer your questions, normally on guitar building in general, life specifically, and pretty much anything that anybody can care to ask. This week I suspect we're going to be talking about Great Guitar Build of 2022. Which, yeah, it's going to be a fun one. It is going to be a fun one. Now, we've got a bunch of you here. We've got Rabnox, JS Trucking, SE Guitars, Master of the Nuclear Village, Creeverai, J Hammer 42, Casey McDermott, as well as Borgonian Evolution, Rabnox, and do you know what? Sweet Tea Guitars, greetings Sweet Tea, Bill. There's a bunch of us in the house, and at the moment the prevailing chat is about the fact that tonight was not supposed to be happening. Today I was hoping to build a guitar in one day from this workshop and just be done with it. And there would be no live stream tomorrow so that I could rest. But unfortunately, well, plans changed. And you guys know that happens with me quite a lot. It's the way it goes. So essentially what has happened, greetings Mike Vickery, I'm glad to see you in the chat. So what happened this time around is we also have a bunch of people complaining about the fact that we've got multiple builds going on at one point, and I'm looking at my daughter's guitar in the corner that is currently in two pieces and has not yet been completed, although there is literally one episode's worth of filming left to do. The Barber Fret guitar is also one episode away from being finished, and then I need to move on with the hand tool only build. And I basically did not want to rush into the next thing, even though it's going to be one build, one day. I didn't want to rush into it. Now, what I'm going to do is tomorrow I'm going to finish Boba Fret, I suppose is the correct pronunciation. Tomorrow I'm definitely finishing Boba Fret. Absolutely no excuse, no ifs, ands or buts. There is guitar finishing oil to go on there and hardware and wiring, and we're there. It's going to be good. I've got some very, very, very cool control knobs as well that have arrived. So that is happening. The guitar will be finished. I am then going to do some work on my daughter's guitar and finish that. Whether the video goes live or not, we're not entirely sure yet. It depends on editors and how much time they have. Speaking of editors, I made Talitha cry last week with the GGBO announcement. We'll talk about that later. And then the next full day live stream, which will be a week tomorrow, I will be planning, I will be drawing the design, I will be talking through every single little bit of my thought process. I will be unboxing the cool set of pickups that I have commissioned for this guitar. I am going to talk about the hardware, which is some pretty cool Goto stuff, Chrome X, I think they call it. So yeah, there's going to be all sorts of stuff. I'm going to talk through the choices of timbers and all of that. And it's going to be a pretty cool part of the process that we don't normally show in depth. That will be planning for the one-day build, and the one-day build will then be filmed the following Sunday. So essentially, in 2 weeks today, I will be at this point utterly wiped out. It'll be hilariously funny, I suspect. So there we go. Now, this is the live stream. The best way to guarantee an answer to your question is via Super Chat. I do try and skim the rest of the comments, but as the amount of viewers grows, that becomes more and more difficult, and I will miss things. And I seriously appreciate the support that the Super Chats do bring. And with that in mind, JS Trucking and Guitars has come in with $5 and says, you didn't have to delete last week's stream. You could have retitled it ASMR and left it up. It was not anything to do with it being boring or anything like that. There was a serious issue that was serious, and it was very serious. and I'm not going to I'm not going to talk about it, but I got in trouble for something that was on the screen for a while, and I'm not, yeah. So we tried to edit it. The process of editing a section out of that video then just foobarred the whole thing. Now we do have the footage and we tried to upload it, but at this point an 8-hour episode of sanding isn't worth the 20 or so hours, 30 hours of rendering and then uploading that such a large video would take. It's insane that we can stream it as easily as we can stream it, and actually then uploading a video is a whole different story. So yeah, it was a relatively boring video. There wasn't all that much going on, and everything that did go on is being edited down into the super edit of that day anyway. In fact, most of it is probably just going to be the end of the last stream. It was so repetitive. So yeah, I'm sorry that that is not there, but trust me, there is going to be a whole hell of a lot more content going live this year than I have ever managed to produce. And yeah, it's good. Anyway, ask me questions, and let's get stuck in. Now, yeah, where are we? I've got a microphone here. I think it should be okay. Something I'm considering actually for the live stream is some sort of a push-to-talk mic for the person on that computer there. Now, at the moment, they're using the lapel mics, but yeah, which we can't do that because that creates a horrific squelching noise every time you mute it, apparently. Tell me. Here we go. Here's a test. So I'm going to mute this. Tell me if this squelches in your ear. And there we go, unmuted. Tell me if that made a horrible noise. If it doesn't, then we can just use that as the push to talk, and then you won't have to hear Talitha typing away. Okay, Sweet Tea Guitars has come in, and with a super chat, thank you very much, Sweet Tea. Says, I want to make a donation so everyone who wants to be involved in the GGBO can be. I sent an email. Where should I send the funds? Anyone else? I really do appreciate that. Seriously, save... Oh, I don't know what to do. Basically, there is a donation page on the website. It's currently in the historic sections talking about 2021, and it's down there. I do need to redo that. That being said, in all seriousness, if anybody can't... Okay, there's two things. If anybody can't afford to enter the Great Guitar Build-Off, because the entrance fee is £50, which is, I don't know, $80 or 120 Aussie dollars or so. It's a relatively large amount of money. If anybody can't afford that, all they need to do is email us. And this is one thing that I filmed it about 5 times, and in the final edit, it didn't make the final edit because I just completely forgot about that one point out of the 40 million. I had more trouble filming that one video than anything else I've filmed in years. And we'll talk about Talitha. The other thing is, if you can't afford the entrance fee, it is such a small... It's a relatively small part of what it costs to build a guitar. Now, in general, we all know the Great Guitar Build-Off is entirely about getting people building guitars who can't build guitars necessarily, who can't afford it, because we all know that it's not a cheap hobby to be in. And, you know, if you aren't able to get into the hobby, then you're not able to get a career in the business. Okay, so here we're at. Now, most of the people entering into this competition are already here, and we're here to raise money for those coming behind us. And that's kind of where it is in my head. Now, that being said, seriously, drop an email to greatguitarbuildoff.com if anybody can't afford it, and we will drop the fee down to what it was last year, just split it in half. No questions asked. Now, the fee is part of the way that we're raising money and hoping to end up with, you know, well, at this point, it looks like we will end up with enough money in the end to actually do some good work afterwards. Last year, we were blown away by how many people entered, but the fact that we had, for example, we had a judges pool last year, and every single one of those people required multiple emails throughout the whole process. And, you know, that sort of stuff just takes time and administration. Finding sponsors, chasing sponsors, getting sponsors. We spoke to probably several hundred companies and ended up with 4 or 5 actually properly sponsoring the competition last year. And it just took huge amounts of administration, which costs money. And, you know, Crimson Guitars, our accountants are really pissed off with us, because when you look at the accounts, you say, okay, fine, you know, this year you did X, this year you did Y, you boosted your administration staff, and yet they did half the amount of work. Not quite that bad, but they did appreciably less work than they should have done based on how many people you have and what they're normally doing. And the accountants can see that and say, what happened? We said, oh, we put on a competition, you know, and every single one of our administration staff spent at least a day a week working on GGBO for 6 months, and we didn't charge for most of that. So it really seriously damaged the company that is here that we're trying to do. So I've rejigged the whole thing so we don't have 90% of that going on. We should be able to have just one person doing most of the administration, which will be much cheaper and mean that in the end we'll be able to subsidize or give away a lot more money and courses and kits and things and experiences and all of that. So you've all heard me talking about this recently anyway. All right. So we will subsidize the entrance fee, although I suspect that most people entering the competition can afford the entrance fee, and because they're already guitar building, we're trying to go for we're trying to help the next people. Now, I've said that, I'm repeating myself, I'm not even sure if I'm making sense anymore at this point. Let me know. JS Trucking says, I've officially signed up for the scratch build competition. Scratch build competition, and it on-clicked. Not sure what you mean there. If you're having any issues with any of that, drop us an email through office@greatguitarbuildoff.com. Now, I haven't actually looked at the names. We have, I think, so far about 70 people have signed up for the competition, 40 or 50 in the scratch, and about 20 or so in the kit build, and this is 2 or 3 days after the video went live. Now, the big unit, how are you? Finally got my Crimson kit ordered. Thanks for the email help, it's a pleasure. It'll be my first time doing a build. Should I enter GGBO or get experience first? Enter GGBO. Okay, another long story. Gird thy loins. You do not get anything if you don't ask. If you don't enter Great Guitar Build-Off, you might not meet the love of your life. Or more likely, some fat man named Chuck who also works in his basement but is destined to be your best friend. Okay, so so get there, get yourself out, and have a blast and join the community, because most of this, and this is where I was actually going with my last statement, most of Great Guitar Build-Off is about the community of builders who are going to be in the competition. And that's a group of people who will become friends with each other. Now, the social media side of Great Guitar Build-Off, those emails are going to be going out manually, admin. Without paying a lot of money, we couldn't find out a way to automate that. So there's going to be emails with individual discount codes and coupons and links to the social media side of greatguitarbuildoff.com. And we'll get there. Now, so yesterday, okay, we're changing. I've never been able to do this before in my life. And it's funny, and I'm going to sound like an entitled prat, but I took my, I owed Talitha an apology. I gave her this absolute mess of an edit to do for the GGBO announcement. It was horrific. I swore more times in the outtakes of that than in any, it was terrible. She spent 3 days editing it, including at least one evening working till 3 a.m. And the next day after that, I phoned her and said, look, we just have to start fresh. We have to scratch this whole thing and film with you here, reading what I've written on the website, and we just make sure it's right. And she cried. And so I took her out shopping for a day with my son. Not shopping. We went out for a day. The shopping bit was, we need a new camera for Crimson Guitars, because I've got all my cameras here, and we are changing the way we do great guitar, what's on the bench videos. And individual students are actually going to be filmed for the entire process of building a guitar, and that will be an edit on the channel. So it's going to be amazing, but we needed a good enough camera there to do that. Walked into a camera shop. Immediately one of the staff says, oh my God, Ben, I'm a fan. I've watched your videos. You know, I followed you from 15 years ago, and it's all cool. And I sort of spotted the owner of the business perk up, which is quite cool. He's a really cool guy. Before that actually even happened, he'd given my son picked up a sort of camouflage thing for strap for holding cameras and stuff. And Orson said, oh, how much is this? And he pulled out his little wallet. He's 11. And the guy says, oh no, you just have that, that's fine, mate. Anyway, we're talking. I picked up a second-hand tripod for my new camera, and because I don't have enough tripods now, of course, and I needed a memory card for that, which was insane. It's the Type B thing, and we're talking about that, and I start talking about cameras, and while we're talking about a relatively budget option that we can just hand to a student or hand to one of the teachers there to film without it looking shite, another member of this guy's staff comes up, goes all, you know, oh my gosh, Ben, I'm a huge fan. I've been watching your stuff. I love guitar building. I used to be really into it, and then I got into cameras, and now I don't watch you anymore because I don't like you anymore. But you know, you're not a camera. And the boss was like, okay, tell me about this. Anyway, I ended up saying, you should sponsor the channel. And, you know, I've bought a couple of cameras from them now. I bought my most expensive single camera, apart from this most recent one, from them a couple of years ago, this beastie, 90D. And all sorts of stuff. And in the end, with my sister and my son watching with their jaws on the floor, I managed to get the boss of a shop to give me about 1,200 quid worth of stuff for half price. To put a link on the channel and to say that I use them for my cameras, and I do, and it was incredible. Now, the whole point of that story was to say, hey, I'm a jammy git, and that's just so awesome. But it's to say that if you aren't putting yourself in front of people, then you never know what you're going to miss. And yeah, it takes a certain type of person to ask somebody to give them free shit, but because I asked, I did. You know, I got an amazing deal on some gear that we would have paid for anyway. But hopefully that business is going to make a lot of money off in camera sales. Anyway, okay, now that was a long one. I am going off piste. Where are we? I've missed a bunch of super chats. Okay, JP Woodwork has come in and said, had my bag of Ben Crowe coffee turn up this morning. What a way to start the day. Awesome blend, sir. Thank you very much. I think it's even stronger than I had. It's the same taste, but stronger than the blend that I actually tasted. I don't know what they did, but they supercharged it a little bit. And yeah, I've been drinking a lot of that. It's incredible. The big unit says, finally got my Crimson kit ordered. Okay, there we go. Thanks for the We've answered that. Okay. So Sweetie Guitar says, sorry for saying this in the question time stream. I'm not sure. are you apologizing for asking if you can make a donation? Because that is not something you need to apologize for. Luthier Builds comes in with a question not GGBO related, so fantastic, this makes me happy. So the Crimson Melamine Lacquer. It says only to use one coat on the website. Can you use more coats for a higher build, or would it cause a problem? I just ordered a couple of bottles. Okay, so melamine lacquer is a really difficult thing to apply, and applying a single coat is a good way to get a thin, resonant finish that works. You can build it up. I used melamine lacquer for a large part of Shred. Shred was picked up on Friday. So sad. I actually miss it now. Damn it! I should never have raffled that guitar off, even if it was for GGBO. So basically what happens is it dries super quick. So you brush a bit on or rub a section on, and it will dry within 10 or 15 seconds. So if you're rubbing it on and you want it nice and flat off the brush or the rubber or whatever, however you're applying it, you need to be supremely quick. Okay. But what it does is it eats the layer below itself and adheres and becomes one coat. So I really need to do some tutorial videos on this. It'll probably go on the extras channel, and yeah, I need to do a lot more of that sort of stuff. Now the one problem with it is that when you're applying it, you've got to be careful not to drip some on a bit that you've already finished, because just a single droplet of it, unless you see it and get it off really rapidly, will eat through right to the bottom layer, and you'll have a freckle where you don't want one. So there we go. But practice a little bit, watch a few other tutorials. There must be people on YouTube who use it a lot and talk about the various options. It's a fairly standard finish, and it's really cool. It is really cool. It builds up a great gloss. JS. JS Trucking says, no, that was in reply to the audio. It was supposed to say only clicked. I forgot I'd even asked about that. Okay, so the audio only clicked. It wasn't horrific. Fantastic. Stephen Clark, and thank you for letting me know. Stephen Clark says, I emailed GGBO and waiting for a response. Yes, there are going to be a butt ton. That's a very large barrel load of emails that my mother will be dealing with most of. But anyway, but your opinion, please. I wanted to enter the general scratch build, but I'm recently employed by a bass company. Setup only. Does this make me a pro? It does not make you a pro if you don't build guitars for a living. If you haven't built guitars from scratch for a living, then no, you're in the scratch build. I would probably say that it would be a good thing for you to in the first video or in the process somewhere just say, hey, I work for a company doing setups, but in your profile, there we go. I work for such and such company if you want doing setups. I've never built a guitar for them, and Ben said that that makes me not a pro guitar builder. I'm a pro setup person, so the setup on this guitar is going to be amazing. So yeah, that would work. And now I'm very interested to see. To be honest, all of these emails are going to be sent to me via WhatsApp, and I'll say yay or nay. So most of the answers are going to be coming from me anyway, so you can blame me. Black Wraith, what a cool name. Okay, have you ever considered or wanted to build an electric amplified lute? So to go along with a cool name, you've got a cool brain. Yes, I would love to build an amplified lute. I'm very worried about the bowl back system. I've historically been very worried about the bowl back system and how I would do that. I watched somebody do it within my first year or two of building instruments, and that instrument actually was never finished because he lost his center line, and with it, pretty much his mind. I'm not even joking. So yeah, that kind of put me off that work, but nowadays I know that I can do it. So yeah, that would be incredibly cool and great fun to do. Sweet Tea Guitars, thoughts on a multi-laminate neck with wood in both horizontal and vertical orientation, including the fretboard. Do not do it. Horizontal and vertical wood, you gluing end grain to long grain, etc. That's a weak joint. It's not good. It would not be a stable instrument no matter what you did, in my opinion. Now, if you go back and watch me making the fretboard for the Cyberpunk 2077 build, I created a multi-laminate check work. The guitar was there for a while, it's now a Crimson. A sort of a checkerboard style patterned fretboard out of lengths or cubes of ebony at a 45-degree angle. So they came out of the fretboard like that, and then it wasn't quite 45 degrees, but you know what I mean. And that meant that it was still end grain, side grain, all the way along. It was a beautiful effect, almost digital, which is what I was going for, and also very, very strong. That could work for a neck. But having end grain onto long grain, etc., just please don't do it. Okay. I've got a lot fewer questions about GGBO than I thought. Stephen Clark, awesome, thank you for the answer and all you do. It's an absolute pleasure, Stephen. I thank you for coming, because if you guys weren't here watching and talking to me, then, well, none of these videos would be happening, would they? A Mac. Very cool. How is the best way to store wood to use for guitars when you don't have dehumidifiers, etc.? Or actually, it says humidifiers, so it depends on where you are in the country or in the world. Ours is stored in a dry, unheated workshop. Okay, so it depends. Okay, first of all, it depends entirely on where you are, where you live, what the relative humidity in your part of the world is. There are places where it hardly ever rains and your wood will dry down to a relative moisture content of 9 or 10%. Relative moisture content, equilibrium moisture content, sorry, I got that wrong, of 9 or 10% without any help. I really should move Crimson to a country like that. Emphatically, that would make life so much easier. Now, the problem is that if you're in a place like the UK, in fact, I've just realized that my dehumidifier is still going on in the background. I'm not sure if you can hear it. I have to have a dehumidifier running in here all the time. Now, it's not a commercial dehumidifier. It's not this massive thing. It pulls out 20, maybe 25 liters a day, and it's just going all the time. It's just a cost of doing business. I also have a heater in here that the heater cost maybe 150 quid, something like that. It is thermostatically controlled. In fact, there's an app that I've never bothered downloading, and unless you have a power cut, it just stays and it says, look, if it's 12 degrees or less, I'm going to put the heating on. And most of the time it's not necessarily on for most of the year, but it means that the workshop doesn't get too cold. Now, the temperature in your workshop affects directly the humidity in the air, and it's scientific and weird, but yeah, it's one of those things. The warmer it is, the more water can stay in the air, I think is the way it works. So you don't want it to be massively warm, but if it's too cold, it doesn't work either. That doesn't make sense. I need to reread the book. There we go, I need to read a book again. Now, if you don't have access to a dehumidifier, if the workshop is... So the temperature doesn't really matter too much, unless it's massively warm, in which case a dehumidifier is not what you want, it's air conditioning. Store the wood somewhere where you can control the humidity. Even if you've only got a small cupboard under the stairs or something like that where it is drier, and store the wood somewhere that you can control. Now there are very, very cheap dehumidifiers that are actually based on the sort of stuff that you get in cameras and things when you buy a new thing, and it's in there to pull the moisture out. Those things, in my opinion, don't actually work. They don't last long enough. But you can buy a very, very inexpensive dehumidifier that just works in that small space, and that means that the wood is stored somewhere where it's dry. You take it out and work with it, and then put it back in there when you go. Now, another alternative is to store the wood in the place where you live. Assuming you're building a guitar for yourself, store the wood under your bed, preferably with some airflow going around it so it continues losing moisture, and only take it down to the workshop when you are there. I went way, way, way off-piste there. Okay. Moisture meter as well. There are basically, you need to know what the humidity is in the workshop, and based on that humidity, what the equilibrium moisture content of the wood stored in that environment will be. Obviously, I use a very, very expensive moisture meter from Wagner, which is, you know, it's a professional thing, and it's not inexpensive. That will tell me that, and I'm sponsored by them, but that will, I'll push a button and it says, okay, at this temperature with this relative moisture content, your wood will naturally dry down to 11% or 50% or whatever it happens to be. And that's very, very good knowledge. Now, there are much less accurate devices available online where you can just put it on the wall and it says, oh, your humidity is X. And then you can do some sums and work out what that would be as well. So knowledge is power. Okay, Casey McDermott says, building a 7-string multi-scale for a prog metal influenced sound. Bring it on. How much does Picket placement and angle affect tone, and do I need 2 pickups versus 1? Look, you don't need 2 pickups. You tend to get shouted at. I tend to get shouted at if I only use 1 pickup, and then I've always put it in the wrong position for whoever is buying the guitar. So pretty much, yeah, I would say so. So positioning does make a huge difference, because if you think about the string, where the string vibrates, if you pluck the string, it's vibrating most in the middle, and your neck pickup will be seeing that vibration. The easiest test is to hit the string with your plectrum in the middle, and you hear the sound that you're expecting to hear. But if you pick right up next to the bridge, it's much brighter, twangier, and sharper. Well, that's a bad word to use when you're talking about music, isn't it? It has more attack. There we go. It feels like it's got more attack. And the pickup at the bridge is picking that up. So a bridge pickup tends to have a more cutting sound and a brighter sound than the neck. Now, the person that ends up with this guitar will end up preferring one of those two. Probably Murphy's Law. Whichever one you don't use. Now, the angle, it does make a difference, yes. So if it's angled properly, then your pole piece will be underneath your high E string at the same relative length along that string that has got, you know, it's a shorter scale length up the high E than it is at the bass. It'll be at the same relative point in that string. So you can use that to tune what the pickup sounds like. Now, is there a right, is there a wrong? I don't know. Well, there must be, probably, maybe, who knows? There are experiments to be done for sure. The thing though is that, again, a lot of it is about how it looks. And if your angle is slightly off, people tend to say, don't like that. And it doesn't necessarily make a difference to the sound, but a guitar needs to look cool as well. It's kind of par for the course. Now, if you are off, if your pole piece is bracketed by strings, for example, the pickup will still be, the magnetic field of that pole piece will still be picking up that string, The string doesn't have to be directly over the pole piece. But again, people tend to complain if it isn't, even though scientifically it makes no real difference. All right, now, whew. All right, the big unit. Now, I asked you last week about bleaching maple. Follow up to that question. Will it take long to dry again, and will it mess with the stain? Okay, another timber drying question. It shouldn't take too long to dry again. Once you've dried wood down, and it's basically ready to use, using something like bleach or even flooding it with water, the water tends not to go, the bleach tends not to go massively deep into the wood. And once it dries, it wants to be dry. Now, wood straight out, wood freshly cut down is saturated with water that's been flowing through that tree for its entire life. That is its natural state. As it dries out, and especially if it's been dried out in a kiln, things crystallize, the internal structures close and collapse into themselves, and to a certain extent, not exclusively, but to a certain extent, and it inhibits the amount of moisture that it can take up again. So keeping it in some bleach for an hour or two, it's going to get pretty wet, but it's also going to dry relatively quickly. So you're talking, I would say, maybe, just to play it safe, a week. But if you really want to, you can put it in an oven at a very, very low temperature. Bleach in an oven. You're going to get in trouble here. Don't do that. Gently with a hot air gun, very gently. Potentially could also move that process along. But it should be fine. And stain won't, stain shouldn't be an issue. You're lightening the wood. You're not sealing it with the bleach. Basically, you're gonna bleach the fretboard, then glue it together, all that jazz. Do the planing, put your radius in, thus opening up fresh wood, I suspect. At the very least, you can bleach it when it's already been radiused, potentially even glued on, and just take a single gentle layer off with some fine sandpaper to then restain. But as ever, I'm not giving you financial advice. Always do your own tests and make your own decisions. Sorry, it tickles me saying things like that. Test first. Always test. Jay's Trucking says, checkered board. It looked more like the Matrix code. That makes me very, very happy. Very, very happy indeed. Sunbase, how you doing? Says, I just glued up a 3-piece ash Paduke ash body. Any concerns with the Paduke bleeding into the ash when applying the finish? I've not decided yet on the type of finish. Okay, so yes, that is an issue. Paduke and ash. Your biggest issue, I think, is actually going to be in the sanding process. Your Paduke dust is going to want to get into the grain, into the open pores of the ash, and it's going to be an absolute horrific thing to remove. So yeah, try and sand only ash, try and sand only Paduke if at all possible. Oftentimes I will have an interstitial layer of a veneer of some sort. One, it always improves the look. A tiny little pinstripe of black or white in there, generally black inlay, veneer. Black stained poplar, don't try find ebony or anything like that. Yeah, that helps a little bit. Now, what you can do is use sanding sealer, which is specifically for this sort of thing. You could use some shellac just on the Paduke. So do the bulk of your sanding fairly carefully and keeping it separate, and then apply some shellac and then fine sand, again being fairly careful. But if you seal just the Paduke with some shellac first, then pretty much any finish that you take, that you apply after the fact, is not going to pick up the Paduke dust and spread that around. And shellac is a finish that goes with anything. So a nice 1 pound cut of good quality light shellac is your friend. Now, I wonder about the UV protective. I wonder how UV protective shellac is. Will that help keep your Paduke a nice rich red colour, or will the Padauk still fade to brown over time? I don't know. Okay, JS Trucking says, for those that can't afford Wagner, Lowe's Home Improvement has a budget alternative pinless moisture meter for $50. That's from JS Trucking. We don't have a Lowe's in the UK, although it's probably owned by somebody who owns something here, so what can you do? Chris Chester says, met Nebula 2 at the Wirral Guitar Show today. Stunning. Sad that Crimson wasn't there. Are you planning to do shows again? I don't know. I'm really glad that you met Nebula and Ben Morgan, who owns her, and that makes me very, very happy. This is I think the second time that I've seen somebody mention just today that they've just met it. So, in fact, it might just be you twice, but we'll see. So I'm really happy that you met her and you liked her. Are we doing shows again? I am doing, with Crimson Guitars and Vintage Tool Shop, we're going to be at Maker Central up in Birmingham in early May, I think. So that is absolutely happening. It's going to be great. We stopped doing most guitar shows in the UK actually quite a bit before lockdown happened. As a cost-benefit thing, it never really did much for us because we also never really had enough of our tools in stock to, have stuff there that could sell. Now that is changing as we become better at keeping things in stock. So potentially, there are the bigger guitar shows that we absolutely will do. There's the one or two actually in London. There's the Birmingham Guitar Show, and as these things come along, yeah, we will. But the smaller ones like the Wirral Show, etc., probably not. Now that being said, there are Crimson guitars around with various of our dealers who do those shows from time to time. So there will still be some of our stuff around, just not us necessarily. Although I really do want to get on the road again. So yeah, maybe. Okay. Oh, crikey. David Harris has come in with £5. Thank you very much, David. And says, instead of an electric pillar drill, I bought a Miller's Falls number 5 drill and a number 22 frame from Facebook Marketplace and renovated. I blame you, with a great big smiling emoji. Oh, hell yes. So the Miller's Falls number 5 is relatively large, so that the open frame bit's fairly large. Probably double pinion, nice and stable, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful hand drill. And we don't find things like that on Facebook Marketplace here. So, no, you UK, where the hell did you find that? David, seriously, nicely done. Yeah, enjoy. My pillar drill. Yeah, well done. I don't use my pillar drill as much as I should. It's in the wrong place. Okay, Volcanescence in. Hi Ben, when putting on control knobs with grub screws, how do I make sure they don't scratch the body and that they turn in a circle, i.e. no off-center moving of the knob looking from the top? Cheers, V. Okay, so this is a problem. Now, in the UK and Europe generally, we get control knobs with a grub screw. 99% of them are like that. These control knobs with grub screws are actually designed for solid shaft pots. We also, in Europe, tend to get split shaft pots, which means that there is almost always some jiggery-pokery to go around and figure out where exactly it should sit. Now, what I do is I always make absolutely certain that the grub screw is going into the center of the split down the middle of the shaft, and that expands the shaft out a little bit. Don't close it too tight because that tends to knock things off kilter. But yeah, that's what I do, and it's just literally a case of lifting it up a little bit and being very gentle and very careful. Now, The other thing is you want to have your potentiometer extending out of the top of the guitar as much as it possibly will. Okay, the longer the length of the shaft inside the control knob, the better, the more stable it's going to be to stop that sort of wiggling motion that you're talking about. In the end, the best thing is to find some solid shaft pots and use those, because that's actually what they're designed for. Which is weird, because I didn't know that. I knew there was something going on, but I didn't know that until somebody commented about a week ago, asking me why do you use split shaft pots with solid shaft control knobs? And there we go. My mind was blown. All right, fantastic. We've got 146 people watching, 70 likes. Get on with it, people. Now, I really am surprised that we're not all talking about Great Guitar Build Off, and that makes me happy because I've done a lot of talking about that recently. The big issue that the people have is the £1 paying for votes thing, and we've had a bunch of people talking in the GGBO section on the Crimson Guitars Discord with some very good ideas. Some of which I'd considered and discounted, but the mechanics of what you're saying actually make sense to me. So, yeah, there is potential to adjust what we're doing, shall we say. Sweet Tea Guitar says, hello Ben, I hope the evening finds you blissfully happy and inspired. Mate, thank you. It's been a long weekend. But no, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling absolutely great. Do you like the new lighting system? I finally got a couple of soft boxes up, which, yeah, I'm hoping looks all right. Okay, now. Oh, that could be interesting, Stephen. Cool. Okay. I'm just checking to see if there's any live stream questions, Discord questions. Okay. Spike says, Ben, had any bad accidents in your guitar building career? I made a whole video about that, so check that out. Worst mistakes I've made, something like that. The most recent comment that I saw on that was getting your head tattooed. I think I replied with a fairly snarky comment to that one. My screw up this week, grinder with a diamond wheel got away. Lucky it was fatty part of hand and no bones or tendons. Will be, I read, my brain says tenons, whether we're talking about tendons or not, just because of woodworking. We'll be back working this week. Dude, yeah, I don't want to see a picture of that. Be careful, people. I've got to the point now where I tend to only injure myself out of the workshop, which is, fingers crossed and touch wood. Yeah, it makes me happy. Okay. HS Guitars. Ben, what's your preferred method to fill a Burl top to achieve a smooth finish? I'm planning on going for a gloss finish on the top. I was thinking flood with epoxy, maybe even get fancy with tinted epoxy the same color as the final finish. Thoughts? Also, can Crimson's finishing oils be used over epoxy, or would lacquer be better? Actually, yes, Crimson's finishing oils can be used over epoxy. I've done it several times, and it doesn't obviously penetrate in the way the oil penetrates into the wood, but it does actually build up a finish, and you know, it doesn't have an adverse effect. Let's put it that way. Yes, epoxy is the preferred method to do what you're talking about at the moment. Now at Crimson we spray a very high solid content 2K varnish in the spray booth, and that actually acts as our grain filler. So 2 or 3 coats of that, leave it to cure for 2 days, 3 days, flatten it back, and then 2 or 3 more coats, and you're ready to flatten back, buff, polish, etc. So we don't have a separate filler that we have to use. It's part of the spraying process. David Glynn Guitar says, "Hi, Bun. I've been doing most of my shaping and carving with a Shinto and a microplane. I want to get a real plane, but I'm unsure which one to start with. I know quality and cost tend to go in hand, so what would you suggest for a plane that would be a quality tool but not too expensive? I'm disabled and have a limited income. While I use a number of hand tools from Harbor Freight Tools, American company, yeah, I've heard of them, I'd like something better for something as critical as a first plane. Thanks for all the stuff you do for us." It's an absolute pleasure. Either way, you have done something to your light setup or you're using a new camera. Picture is looking nice. Yeah, soft boxes. Yeah, anyway. Somebody noticed. Woohoo! Honestly, a good quality vintage Stanley or Record or Sargent, if you're in America, hand plane, with a little bit of work, and there are many videos of people restoring them, potentially with a new blade, and you can source a new blade from Veritas or Kwangshan or IWC if you're in Canada. That is the best way to get the best tool for a limited budget. Next up after that, Miller's Falls is also great. Miller's Falls made some very, very nice planes. I really do wish I still had... I should collect Miller's Falls. Anyway, sidebar. New planes, Kwangshan, or they seem to have a second brand, which is the same thing, called Luban. Now, Workshop Heaven in the UK have got some Kwangshan Luban planes in stock, the small violin maker's plane. I've got this one here. I also have the Lee Nielsen version of this. This is a better plane than the Lee Nielsen one at probably better than half the price. In fact, that is also a Kwangshan Luban one, and I choose to use that. I also have the Lee Nielsen version of that. They do the low angles, etc. They really are very, very, very good. They're still relatively pricey, but they are a whole hell of a lot cheaper than the comparable Lee Nielsen's, Veritas, etc. Okay. Okay, recommendations on the process of replacing cheap plastic side dots for something more desirable. Drilling very slow and carefully, replace with the bigger dots, or melt them out like a madman. Unfinished neck, so could actually burn it. Okay. I would drill out. I would use a center punch to mark in the middle of the hole, and then I would drill out with a drill bit as close as I could, basically. I would maybe say if it's a 2mm dot, which is likely, use a 1.7mm drill bit, and that would take the center out. The walls of it are likely to disintegrate as you do that, and then you follow afterwards with a 2mm drill bit. But yeah, it's one of those things. There's quite a few questions here. Okay, let's get these done, and then we'll go back to the super chats. A few have come in, so here we go. Max is saying there is a pop sound when you mute it. Unmuting doesn't create any sound. Okay, so the question really is, how bad is that pop sound? Is it an issue? Tips for getting a nice straight line for imitation binding when gold leafing. Non-porous tape, or will that rip up the adjacent gold leaf when removing? I would say use good quality 3M fine line masking tape. And no, essentially you put the tape down, you use your gold size, which is an oil-based varnishy type stuff, put the gold leaf down on that, and the tape will just pull up. There isn't necessarily a reason to use tape of any sort if you can paint a nice straight line. No, use tape. I couldn't. I would use tape if I had the choice. Okay. Okay. Max says it's been quite loud. Without the compressor set up, it would be very loud, and it's definitely not suitable for a push-to-talk. Okay, cool. So, young man, young fella, my lad, what would be a good push-to-talk setup for this? Bear in mind, I do actually have a separate input here, and I could probably actually have a couple of mics going into that input if necessary. Okay, so yeah, pinless moisture meters. Yep. Stephen knew what the answer was. He just wanted permission to burn it. Oh, you could potentially use a hot pin down the center, but it would damage everything else. So don't burn it. Don't burn it. Just drill it out. Okay. Now, back to the stream and stop looking at my phone. Hello, you beautiful, beautiful people. Whoo-hoo. Alrighty, E.R. Webster, how are you? I'm looking forward to seeing what you do in GGBO this year. Assuming you are coming along. Scale length. If you don't come along, I think I'm just going to cancel the whole thing, come to think of it. Scale length. What is the longest scale length you've ever done on a guitar? Shortest? Craziest? Craziest was probably the wiggly fret nonsense that I've now got a mental block and can't remember the name of. You guys are well aware of that and shout it to me every week. Shortest scale length was my first proper fretted instrument. Which was a sort of mandolin. It was very badly made. And I had no support. Yeah, no, I don't have that book. I think I might have a photo of it somewhere. Anyway, yeah, so, ooh, hold on. I might actually even be able to show you a photo. Ooh, I was drawing guitars even then. Restoration. Fine, sorry, hold on. Where's camera 4? Here's camera 4. So, restoration, viola da gambas, guitars, very phallic. I actually made a lot of those guitars. My writing sucks. That was a viola da gamba I built. That was fun, actually. And it doesn't look like I spent enough time taking photographs. That was another one. Yeah. Drawing. Nope, not there. Now, that was a long time ago. So, yeah, little mandolin thing, and the longest is probably just a standard, no, maybe 38 inches. Maybe 38 inches. I would like to do something much, much bigger than that one day, just for fun, which would also class as the craziest, so woohoo. Fluid Alchemist, hey Ben, thanks, oh yeah, thanks for my Guitar of the Week feature, it's an absolute pleasure. More and more, that's where we're heading. We love helping other people and promoting them and getting them in front of people's eyeballs. Vulcan Essen says, hi Ben, I finally bought a Deros Orbital because it's silent enough to use in a flat. They are utterly beautiful. Mine's just over there. Merca really... There are alternatives now. There are other companies that make a similar brushless sander, but it's just incredible. The question though is, which vacuum do you recommend to avoid breaking the decibel bank? Would a home vac do with trickery to attach it? So I have just done some trickery, yes, basically yes. Although home vacuum cleaners tend to be quite loud. So Merca themselves do a version which is, I've never tried it, supposedly nice and quiet, comes with all the attachments. They do sell a vacuum cleaner hose pipe attachment that is supposed to attach to their hand sander, and it's about half the price of the one that's built for this thing. And then I bought that recently, and then I messed around with different size PVC pipe to attach it to the sander itself, and that works absolutely fine. Okay. But yes, I've got lots of fairly expensive, well, fairly loud. I've got some record power extractors here, and then one new star, I don't know what it is. I got the record power ones, which are very loud but very powerful, through Crimson, and then the other one just came through the vintage tool shop at some point. All right, Richard Bacon. Richard, thank you for your support. From New Zealand, I think, says, hi, I have well set up sharp planes, but I always seem to create dished middles in my workpiece. What am I doing wrong? Help me out, old bun 1T Crowe. You're my only hope. Old bun 1T Crowe. I like it. Okay. You've just blown the question entirely out of my mind. That's actually a difficult one. It has to be... Have you checked how flat the sole of the plane is? I keep on coming back to the setup of the plane, or how much material you're taking off. If you've got a very sharp plane and you're taking off very thin shavings, then the only thing that could be wrong is that the sole of the plane itself is not flat. And you've got a bit of a curve in there, and it just wants to take off more in the middle. The other thing is how you are standing, how you are working with the plane. Now, there are two ways to sharpen a plane. You can either sharpen it so that the blade itself is absolutely flat on the end, so that the cutting edge is absolutely flat, and you tend to sharpen a 45-degree angle, just take the corner, right the corner off, and that stops you creating trammel lines down either edge of the plane. But if it's not perfectly squared off in the plane, you take more off on one side than the other, etc. Now, when I'm flattening a large piece of work like a guitar body or something like that, I actually tend to want to use a plane with a blade that has a slight curve in it. So maybe 3/4 of a millimeter or 1 millimeter further back than the point in the center. And what that means is that it acts sort of like a gouge. And because you've got the curve, you're only cutting a small section of wood away, and you can be utterly precise with where that cut is. So you can say, okay, fine, I know that I'm now dishing in the center, but you move it along and you can take away more material at those points with the plane if it's set up like that. But yeah, I would definitely check how flat the sole of the plane is first. Bear in mind, and this is something that most people, or many people, don't know, when you... Of course, I can't believe I've got so much tech in this place now. It's a workshop, for crying out loud. This screw there, you don't want to be able... It needs to be fairly loose. You shouldn't be able to move the blade by hand, but if you really want to, you should. Okay, if you're pushing too much pressure on that because that screw is down too tight, you're actually going to put tension on the plane body itself, and that sort of could cause a problem like you are dealing with. What is it? I feel the need to cull my tool collection, like, in fact, everything I own. I feel the need to just cull, just sell, get rid of, pare right back down. I think I need a sports car. I think I'm having a midlife crisis, people. Talk me down. I don't want to get rid of my planes. Okay. JS Trucking says there are some pictures that go with the last super chat. Yeah, I did see that. I did mention it. Okay. That's about the pinless things. I all I can say is I know that the Wagner is the mutt's nuts, the bee's knees, as it were. And I have no experience on the Lowe's one. I am also sponsored by Wagner. So, yeah, we'll see. Divergent Guitars, how are you? Hi, Ben. I'm so excited for GGBO 22. For GGBO, this is the question I expected right at the beginning. £1 per vote purchase. When trying to convince friends and family to vote for my build with their money, where shall I tell them their money is going? Well, so this is the thing. Okay, this is exactly what I thought I was going to be talking about for this entire time. So you've surprised me. Thank you. Okay, firstly, we actually are supposed to have a page on the website that says, hey, we've given this guy a course and this guy a course. We sent out a whole bunch of tools during last year's competition, etc. We did still manage to give away probably £5,000 or £10,000 worth of stuff and experiences to people who needed it. And we haven't been very good at shouting out that we have, which actually really sucks. I don't know. It's an oversight on our part. So there is going to be a website, a page on the Great Guitar Build-Off website saying, hey, all of this is in aid of doing this. And here is somebody who came and did a course and built a very cool, very bright guitar. And we entirely subsidized that. GGBO entirely subsidized that course. There was at least one other course that was paid for by GGBO on behalf of somebody who couldn't get in and do it, as well as a bunch of other bits and pieces, kits and tools and things. That is what we're about, and that is why the changes have been made this year. So, but yeah, that's it. You know, initially, I am hoping, and we haven't quite hit that yet, but I'm hoping that the number of entrance fees, that the entrance fees will entirely cover the administration of the competition. Okay, that's what I have in the back of my mind. And then after that, everything raised from raffling the invitational guitars off and everything raised from the voting process will be plowed straight back into helping people get into guitar building. Period. This year, I want to give 20 people free courses. You know, Crimson is already subsidizing for GGBO, so Crimson won't say, all right, GGBO, here you go. This course is normally £5,000. You can have it for £5,000. How's that? What is that accent I'm doing? So we already say, hey, you know, this is the biggest discount we can do and still stay in business. And here we go. You can have this course for X. And I'm not going to say what that is in a public forum because that would be silly. Ben says you can do this course for this much without dying as a company. So that does that, and then GGBO will buy the course. And it's not only going to be buying courses from Crimson. If there is somebody who is in America or Europe somewhere that can't get to us because, hey, you know, travel, and there is a course there that we can help with, we will help. We are not in this. We're not in this for ourselves. Not in the slightest. Yes, so I'm hoping there's going to be a lot more money at the end of this to help people. Now, the £1 vote thing is going to mean that there are less people, there are fewer votes, and that is by dint of us trying to fix the really shitty voting that went on last year. There was at least one person there who publicly went out. I'm not going to name names, frankly, because I've forgotten, because I suck like that. But there was somebody who went on their socials and said, hey, do you realize that you can vote for me many times? If you go, you know, use your iPhone, use your computer, use a thing, use a VPN, and I'd really like to, you know, get your votes. Now, we went in and we fixed the votes. We made sure that we knew as close as possible who had done something like that. But in the end, the voting is a huge issue, which is why I wanted to do it this way. Now, there are some other options. There are some other options that I'm seriously considering. Still involve, you know, money, but it could be it could be interesting. Now, yeah, I don't know. I've put so much thought into this. I've spoken to so many people about it, and I don't know. I think it's potential that instead of having the vote be something that you purchase on the GGBO website, potentially we could have an individual raffle per entrant where, for example, we create, we create an NFT that you can buy or you can win in the raffle, and everybody who wants you to win will go to the raffle, and it'll be limited to 1 ticket per person. It'll be limited to £1 per ticket in the raffle software system, and in the end, one of the people who votes for this person will win. And I'm half joking about the NFT. Maybe a t-shirt, maybe a mug, cap, maybe a freaking exclusive limited edition, I don't know, breadboard with the GGBO logo on it or something like that. Something physical that they will win, that they will get. It'll be part of it, but they're still also voting. And why that appeals to me is because it is off the GGBO website. It's not us getting the contact details, which is something people worry about. It's a third party that is a verified, legally bound body and all that jazz. So that does interest me quite a lot. An alternative is, wow, that's not at all what I was expecting to see. That's looking at a Skillshare course that I want to create. Stickers, that was the other thing. We could just say, hey, £1 gets you a sticker, and we'll ship a sticker out, and that £1 is a vote for somebody. But yeah, I don't know. I think the raffle system is potentially the way to go, really. Now, I am going to continue talking to the program who do the raffles for us. There's potential for, if they're able to, there's potential for something else. Doesn't work with their current system, but we'll see. Okay, so it's still, it would still work with the system that we've described in the initial video. It would still be £1 a vote, but it would be off, and there would be something that people gain. Now, this is, I fully expected to have you guys, the hive mind, give me ideas and to pivot. I enjoy pivoting. Alrighty. Now, back to the questions. This is yeah, okay. I haven't had time to even look in the standard chat so far. Not even once. Okay, so. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum. Shock the Fox. Howdy. Ben, have you ever done a bird's beak headstock joint? If you have or haven't, I would love to see a video on that. You and me both. No, I have not. I have not. My pencil is in my book. Okay, and I would love to do that myself. So hold on, let me find the correct page. That is something that has intrigued me forever. And essentially what you've got is you've got the headstock, you've got the neck, and you've got a scarf joint kind of thing. It goes together, but there's a diamond sort of ferrule kind of thing at the back. It's called it's bird's beak or various other names. And the way that's made and it all sticks together is just beautiful. Unnecessarily complex, but super cool. Okay, so, oh my gosh, David Harris's Miller's Falls drill. I've got an image in front of me, and it is pretty. So, yeah. So here you go. You've got a Miller's Falls. That's the rise and fall. You've got a pinion there and a pinion there, which means you get less wobble. Rosewood handle, Brazilian rosewood handle, and the handle up there will also be hollow and cool. Thank you for sending that to me. Okay. Stephen says I should sell the book. I'm assuming he's talking about the one from 20 years ago. You don't want to read my writing. Hi Ben, do you think it could be a fun DIY project for production? This is a birdhouse made out of a guitar. Sacrilegious, but then again, there are guitars that are not something you can save. Disco Stew, have I missed a super chat from you, or have I just not reached it yet? I think I missed it. My gosh. If you could, this is a super chat from Disco Stew and I missed. Thank you very much, Creeverai, for letting me know. If you could magic a perfect success at Crimson, what would it be? Release a hit-selling guitar, triple tool sales, recruit all the people you need. It starts with people. So initially, without any thought, it would be recruit everybody I need. Now, on that front, I'm incredibly excited. Actually, tomorrow, and I'm not going to be there, we've got a new luthier starting in the guitar building school. Mind-blowingly excited about that. And then on Tuesday, we're interviewing a third. Which again, I'm really excited about both of these guys. So yeah. I've really struggled, honestly and truly. You know the old saying, if you want something done properly, you do it yourself. That's one thing, and I have in the past hired some real doozies, and it set the company back by years or more. Huge issues. And you start these things with the best will in the world, and you can't tell who people are, can you, necessarily? Now, that being said, we are very, very lucky with who we've got now. And I'm very, very happy. We don't have enough of the really good people. There are always more good people to bring into the fold, absolutely. But the whole time I'm thinking, hey, if I just didn't spend quite so much time making videos, maybe we could be an international guitar company rather than just a tool company or just a guitar building school. I mean, we're the biggest guitar building school in the world at this point, unless there's somebody out there I don't know about. We teach more students every year in person than anyone else. Okay, now what would perfect success? What would it be if I could magic perfect success? It would be two separate companies. We would have the school and the tools as its own entity, doing everything that it does right now, but with 100 more products. There's at least 100 more products we should be selling, not including hardware, not including wood, just tools and jigs and things that we should sell by rights that we just don't yet. And we're working on that. And the guitar company would be entirely separate, divorced from Crimson in everything except for the fact that I own both of them. And we would have people around the world playing our guitars. Now, yeah, that would be absolutely amazing. Okay. All right, Kiwi Quarters, how you doing this evening? Hey Ben, I want to use large carved buttons, like 10 centimeters long. But is there a way to extend the worm gear shaft on a tuner? Okay. Have you seen Michihiro Matsuda's work? His guitars are incredible and have very long tuning key buttony things. Okay, hold on. Okay. Oh my gosh, I've got a live stream build tomorrow. Completely forgotten about that. No, just fine. Just a set of random 510s sitting there for some reason. I am fully aware that I'm a very, very lucky man right now. It has taken me 20, 25 years to get to this point. Basically, no. I wouldn't, if I were you, try and mess with the worm gear or any case, and it's not absolutely necessary to do that in the first place. All you need to do is have a really long hole. So if you've got a 10 centimeter long tuning key head that swoops on down, Michihiro Matsuda does exactly this, and I've done it before myself 15, 20 years ago with an aluminium sort of 10 mil knurled thing that was really cool. That allows you to have a totally rectangular headstock with the tuner still in the middle, but you've still got access to the keys. It's a really cool look. And essentially you just use a long screwdriver. You drill 90% of the way through, so the head of the screw goes to there, and then you've got a little bit, and it works in exactly the same way. So yeah, you can do anything that you want. I think what I just said makes sense. And yes, you should do that. Oh, wow. Okay, JS Trucking and Guitar says, I just finished cleaning my Stanley number 5. Should I use maple or bloodwood to replace the broken handles? I mean, bloodwood sounds cool. It also looks pretty cool. Maple looks cool, but it doesn't seem in my head to be the right choice for plain handles, at least. That's a weird one. I think I'm just 100% set in my ways, and yeah, I should broaden my horizons. You do you. You do you. But yeah, I think bloodwood's cool. Spike the Frugal Fixer has come in with a $10 super chat and said, GGBO questions. 1. Does adding a pickup to teleacoustic take you out of freestyle? No, it's still... Okay. A teleacoustic, that's the wrong word. What do they call those damn things? If you're building one of those, it's a guitar, and it's still basically an electric guitar. It's just a semi-hollow electric guitar with a piezo in there. It's still an electric guitar. So no, yes. No, it doesn't, because it wasn't in freestyle in the first place. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, cool. 2, is it in stone that pros must sell? 100% yes. 3, do they have to play, intonate and be finished? Do they have to play, intonate and be finished in GGBO video this year? Basically, yeah. Now, I have said that your final video doesn't have to be out on the final date. It certainly has to be before the voting is finished. But if you don't have a guitar that is playing and intonated and is on video to be seen, then, you know, nobody's going to vote for you, really. So yeah, you need to finish it. I've created this thing now, and I've brought in it's 7-8 months to do the build. I want people to have enough time to do it, and it is what it is. And yeah, to go back to number 2, it really is in stone that pros must sell. Now, I am incredibly happy with adding the professional category. I don't know how many people are going to go for it. I don't know how many people are going to be interested, but everything I am here to do is to promote guitar building in general, guitar builders specifically. I don't care whether it's somebody who works for me or my company, or somebody who is me 20 years ago, working in a shed, hoping desperately to make a living. I want people to be able to say, there was a question, and it knocked me for six about a year ago now, and somebody, and it really knocked me for six. Somebody asked me, Ben, I want to support a new guitar builder. What would you, it was in the live stream, what would you look for, I think was what the question was, in a guitar builder to do? And my first thing was, well, why didn't you come and buy a guitar from me? I deserve your money. You know, I've got guitar builders that work for me, and it really put me back. And I was like, well, you know, is that actually, you know, should my first response be, give me your money? And no, it really freaking shouldn't be. And it isn't. 20 years ago, 2008, so not even 20 years ago, I was bankrupt, literally bankrupt, got evicted with a brand new baby, evicted from my house. I couldn't pay my rent. And I went through the whole bankruptcy process. The financial crash back then was an absolute killer. And I've built Crimson up to what it is now. And I was very, very lucky to do that. And YouTube helped, and making tools helped. The tools did it first, and then YouTube came and moved everything forward after that. And I want to help people who are in that situation, and that's why GGBO is here. Now, the professional category is saying, hey, all of you people who are watching Great Guitar Build-Off, all of you people who are interested in guitars, all of you people who are thinking about voting, etc., by the way, I am in the professional category. I am here to make money. I am here to sell guitars. Okay? Phone me, email me, hit me up on Instagram, DM me, okay? Go on my website, you can buy a guitar that I made. And if people sell a guitar or two through being in the professional category on Crimson Guitars, on GGBO, our job is done. That's what we're here for, period. So yeah, it is set in stone. They're here to sell guitars. They will sell the guitars, or they won't be in the category, and they won't be in the competition. One, a professional can't be competing against somebody who's building their first guitar. It's not fair, okay? Last year was not fair. Hell, it's not fair that I'm in the Invitational and there's people who've never built a guitar before, or built, you know, one or two guitars. It's not really fair. But the Invitational is slightly aside. But yes, and I've also created it for me for 20 years ago. I've created it to say, okay, fine, you know, I know that an average guitar costs around about half, really, of what I put into it normally. Now, you know, if we sell a guitar for £2,000, it's sold to a shop who takes their 30% or more if they can do it. We want to make 20 or 30% profit. Taxman takes his thing. The actual cost price of the guitar is around about half of what we're selling it for at retail. In the professional category of Great Guitar Build-Off, the builder will get half of whatever it goes for at auction, so that they have, hopefully, if they get enough, you know, raffle tickets sold, they will get, hopefully, what they would get if they were selling the guitar to a shop. And at the very least, I'm hoping that everybody will have their costs covered. Period. I've thought about this so freaking hard, people. So anyway, there we go. Divergent Guitars come back in with another super chat. Thank you very much. And says, thanks for the detailed answer, Ben. Makes sense to me. Having a web page that explains all the GGBO non-profit benefits / good deeds accomplished to non-Luthiers outsiders would be a great help. I can't believe it wasn't even on there. I really... This goes back to what I was saying about earlier, about having to do things yourself if you want it done right. And even knowing that I need to say, oh, by the way, make this page, and then not having to worry about it. Last year, there was just so much going on, and I dropped the ball. I really did. There were many, 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 many things that have happened over the last couple of years, because I've got my head in 14 different places. And, you know, the bringing the Vintage Tool Shop into the fold of Crimson is going to make that so much better. I've got basically nothing that I have to do now for the Vintage Tool Shop. It's all about videos in Crimson. Having this set up in here, which I think I want to do a video about actually, with regards to GGBO and filming and all that jazz. Yeah, it's gaining me more time to be able to sit down and not actually do anything, just cogitate and think and be sure that I know what the hell's going on. Alrighty, now I have run out of super chats over there, and don't have any more questions in there. Now, oh crikey, there's a super chat from Discos 2. Wow, Ben, the answer to that question on financing was amazing. What a great person you are. Live by rule number 1, hashtag always be the good guy, shaking hands emoji. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm glad I could help. And yeah, I have been the arsehole. I have been the arsehole. But I try and avoid that as much as humanly possible. David Glynn Guitar says, howdy y'all from Texas. Beautiful day today. We had a really nice day today actually as well. Borgonian Evolution says, hey ho Crimsonians. Sweet Tea says, guitar building doesn't feel like work, my friend. It only serves to inspire me to do more, think more, be more. There we go. I'm right up at the top of the chat. Most of these comments were a long time ago, I think. Okay. How long have we been going so far? Whoa, it's an hour and a half already. I'm not going to be here for that much longer. I am wiped out, people. But yeah, if you have questions, I will answer them. Okay, hold on. My computer booted me right down to the bottom of the thing. I'm trying to see if there's any questions. Patrick Nesberg. Question. I have a Sistrom CISTOM fitted guitar neck bolt-on. Is it possible to make a replacement neck even though the body has been custom fit for another neck heel? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No worries whatsoever. You can make any neck to fit. You can make a neck to fit pretty much any guitar. No worries. Tormelli Guitars, formerly Coolwood, Italy. Hey, GGBO question. Could you reconsider the obligation for pros to have to raffle their guitar? No, absolutely not. It is here to advertise you to as many people as humanly possible. Now, the one other thing that I didn't mention earlier was that I am going to be filming. Okay. Unless everything goes wrong, I've got a new editor working with us at Crimson who's fantastic, who's very skilled, very quick, and is coming on board full time. Okay, all being well. Now, with that proviso in place, what I'm planning on doing is on the Crimson Guitars web YouTube channel, on the main channel, I will do regular videos throughout Great Guitar Build-Off, promoting the hell out of it. We will take footage from your channel. We will edit that down, okay? And say, okay, fine, here's a roundup. We've got 150 people competing, but check out Coolwood, Italy. Sorry, what's your new name? Tornelli Guitars. Check out Tornelli Guitars. This is the cool design that they've made. Okay, that's 30 seconds with a link to your Instagram and your thing. In front of most videos like this get 10 to 20,000 people watching them, but sometimes 50,000, sometimes 1 million views. Okay, if one person comes to us, sees that on our channel and says, oh my god, I like what that I'm assuming Italian guy is making, I'm having some of that. You are raffling off your guitar and entering into this competition hoping to get a hell of a lot more customers. And I know it sounds like I'm saying, hey, exposure, yo. This is what it's about. It is about getting you in front of people and hopefully making sales. Across the board, the scratch, the kits, the freestyle, all of that, I will be highlighting bits and pieces, hopefully from everybody's builds on a semi-regular basis, and just it'll be edited down together from the build videos, scraped off the internet, put together into a super edit, maybe a 45-minute long video where people will see what you guys are doing on our channel. And I hope that would be very well viewed and worth watching. Okay, Rob Phoenix says, okay, so just about to pull the trigger. I'm guessing I'll have to be in the pro category, hoping it goes somewhere in UK purely on the shipping issue, but good luck to all. Okay, so shipping, I'm not sure I mentioned, hold on, I have a script here. Do-de-do-de-do. And all the pages are all messed up. Come on, Ben, you truly suck. 10% of raffle did a winner, raffle licensing, public dates for your diary. Okay, funds are only released on safe delivery of the instrument to the winner of the raffle, and the builder will have to supply a hard case to guarantee safe shipping of the guitar to the raffle winner. Luthiers, the winner and the runner-up. Okay, fine. Yes, sorry, I did not say that. Okay, now with the way the raffle software, it's not a software, it's a website system. With the way the system works that we're using, we get to push a button that says, hey, shipping costs will be covered by us, the people raffling the thing, or by the person buying. In all cases, on GGBO, shipping for raffle guitars will have to be covered by the person who wins the instrument, okay? Yeah, I mean, you can't be expected to, as a builder in a category, or as GGBO, we're still not a charity. It's insane, the hoops. But anyway, it's going to cost 150 quid to ship it to I don't know, Trinidad and Tobago or whatever. If somebody is there, they're going to have to be aware that if they are bidding to win something in the UK and they live in Spain, it's going to cost a bit to ship it over, and that is on them. And most people would be happy to eat that cost. It's still going to be a whole hell of a lot less than what the guitar is worth. So yeah, congratulations. I'm looking forward to having you in the competition, Rob. Yeah, I really am. Fluid Alchemist said, hey Ben, any tips on building guitars in a high warm humidity environment? Tropics, without climate control. Yeah. No. Other than what I mentioned earlier about look, if you're building a guitar in an area with high humidity and all of that jazz, and the guitar is going to live in that area, in that country, which is, on balance, probably what the case is, then, you know, the wood is dried as much as it can be, and it's going to sit at the equilibrium moisture content. That is the point where the wood isn't taking on any more moisture, but it's also not losing any moisture. So the only tip I've got for you is dry the wood as well as you absolutely can, preferably by kiln dried wood if at all possible, or build yourself a kiln. They are not difficult. Hell, you could take an old double freezer, whack a fan in both ends and put a small heater in there, and that will act as a kiln. That will dry the wood. You know, a little even smaller, a cupboard with a light bulb in there to warm it up, and some small PC fans to get the airflow going past the wood, properly stacked in there, it will dry. Now, if you dry wood down to, say, 9% in a kiln, which is around about perfect for guitar building in an environment where it's not that humid, dry it down to 9%, 10% in a kiln, and then you take it into your workshop, which is the basically the same sort of environment that where the guitar will live if your whole country is always very humid. Bearing in mind, this is assuming that most people don't have air conditioning, which does dry things out. Basically, you want to build a guitar in an environment that is similar to the environment in which it is going to live. All right, so you've got it dried as much as you can, you put the wood in the environment in which it's going to live, and then you just leave it and see what happens. It might take on 2, 3, 4, 5% moisture, but it's never going to go all the way back up to the air-dried moisture content. It always stays 2 or 3% drier if it has been pre-kiln dried. And then once it's reached equilibrium, once it's not moving anymore, it's not taking on moisture, it's not losing any moisture, that is when you start building with it. Whew. Alrighty. All right, people. I'm running down. Discuss 2. I am sorry I missed that super chat initially. Bull rab lock. So it seems that Rabnox didn't quite... Yeah, Rab, you didn't quite understand, I don't think, initially in your question about whether professionals have to auction their guitars off, which they absolutely do. I think you maybe missed the fact that you do get 50% of whatever the raffle, not auction, raffle, whatever the raffle raises goes to you. So, yeah. And also, are you a professional guitar builder at the moment? There is a grey area. There's a grey area, and you might fall into it. Okay. Richard Bacon says, "Aha! Cap iron too tight." I'll check. Cool. Neil Jelks says, "My wife says I'm a vintage tool, so does mine." Okay. Questions. Huh. Anthony K says, "Ben, you can have a sports car if it's a hand tool only build." Deal. Vintage sports car. I drove past a gorgeous old Ford. Oh, I can't remember the model name now. I had to look it up, but it was for sale and I slammed my brakes on it. It was not, yeah. Anyway. Tutum Carmen, any problem with competitors being sponsored by local companies? No, not at all. This is the thing, actually. I would love to bring in pickup makers and things as well, and do that. So yeah. Tahoe Mike says, "I'll be voting by buying raffle tickets." This is the thing. I think, yeah, it's difficult. Hey Ben, behind on the emails? Yes, very behind on the emails. And yes, I am interested still. That's Jeremy Cole. Do you have a total ballpark figure you're willing to share for the whole GGBO, Ben? Lisa, question. Do you have a total ballpark figure you're willing to share for the whole GGBO? I don't understand the question. We currently have about 80 people entered. Entrances have links. Wow, I'm getting tired. Links to t-shirts that they can buy that are exclusive. So once you have entered, you get to download a pack that's got a bunch of logos and things to put on your videos and all of that jazz. And there's a link for to get a t-shirt that has your Great Guitar Build of 2022 Professional or a kit build or whatever on a t-shirt. So between that, we've probably sold coming up on £4,000 worth of stuff. My guitar, shred. We're coming up on £10,000 worth of income so far this year through the combination of these two things. And in my head, I've already spent probably 4 times that. But yeah, we'll see. No, okay, that was flippant. I think that if the competition gets as big as it did last year, I probably spent 40 or 50,000 pounds last year, and that's not including actually all of it in any way, shape or form. These things are, people are pricey. Human beings sitting there doing work are horrendously pricey. You know, and they deserve to be paid, but it is what it is. So hopefully this year we can get away with only spending maybe £8,000 or £10,000 on people, on work. I don't know, we'll see. If we can, the end result will be that we'll have hopefully £30,000, £40,000 to give away, which would be awesome. Or more. Okay, here we go. Robert R says, I just checked the sole of the new plane I got with a straight edge, and there is a concave area in the middle of the sole of about 1/32 of an inch and a gap in the middle. Should I flatten it? Absolutely. There we go. That is your problem. So what's happening if it's concave? That means that you're having to push the blade out further than it wants to go, which means that it's working erratically. It's also going to be rattling about a little bit more. It's just not ideal. So you want, the hell? Okay, you want, and this hasn't been flattened, you want your plain sole to touch at the front, around the blade, and at the end. These sections don't matter quite so much. Okay, unless you're working on shorter stuff. If you can get it perfectly flat, cool, do so. But as long as you're touching around here and at these, at either extremity, the plane will work a lot better. So yeah, loosen that screw and see if it moves over a day or two, and see where you're at. I'm so glad I figured out what the issue was. A lot of these questions you just don't know. Lisa, I've never understood blockchain. No, me neither. NFTs. I do see the use for an NFT to be able to verify that a piece of art or a watch or a guitar or something like that is what it is what it says it is, and is by who it, yeah, and all that jazz. But anyway. The boffins say that it works, and it's the next thing, so there we go. Vax Headroom says, what would you think of a Bond-style neck, I'm assuming you mean fretboard, but with compensated frets? I do not think the compensated frets are a good idea. I just don't. I mean, it would be cool as hell to look at. I just don't think that a guitar should be perfectly in tune. That's actually the heart of the matter. I don't think that a guitar should be perfectly in tune. You're playing next to a bass player who won't have compensated frets. You're playing with a keyboardist who is not perfectly in tune. Everything is compensated. And if you have absolutely perfect tuning, then you are going to sound out of tune in comparison to the other guys, not the other way around. So, yeah, it would be a cool project. It would be a fun thing to look at, but and then when you try and play in drop D or an alternate tuning or something, the whole guitar is useless. I think it's pointless. Mr. Waffles says blockchain is a way to track a thing, be it Bitcoin or digital art or whatever. It uses unbreakable encryption to basically store the history. I can't, every time somebody says unbreakable, I think Titanic. But, I mean, yeah, anyway. Divergent says, please no blockchain NFT nonsense. I'll be really sad to see that utter horse hockey invade this space. I feel the same way. I feel the same way, but you know, anyway. Lisa likes my new notebook. The notebook is my yellow one where I'm writing down all the video ideas and plans and bits and pieces like that. And then I've got a red day diary where I go through meetings and things. And I'm trying desperately to be the organized individual I've never been in my life. Okay. Right, Franz Truter, how you doing? Come in and said hi and bye. Going to do a scratch build this year. Bring it on. Waiting on payday. Hee hee. By the way, you are going to announce the winners on my birthday. Ha ha. And yes, get fireworks. 5th of November. I mean, it would be awesome if we actually had a full-on party, an actual event with actual human beings. And a live stream. That could be really cool. How many people would come to an event at Crimson Guitars announcing on November the 5th, announcing the winners and stuff, and we could have a party? That could be incredible. Maybe not this year, but yeah. Okay, so Anthony Conklin says maybe you could use something like the Yank voting system where, if I understand it right, you have to show ID. Obviously, nobody wants to show their ID to some random person on the internet. This is the problem. If you Google, just as an experiment, go into Google and say, hey, how do I make online voting cheat, free, or, you know, resistant, etc.? Guaranteed half of the first sites you get will be showing you how to cheat, how to buy thousands of votes. It's just so difficult until you get your credit card out. Which is why we're doing it this way. It's not... Either this is a competition that is fair and is done as fairly as humanly possible, and everything is run absolutely that way, or it's just a bit of fun, and nobody gets to complain if somebody gets more votes than somebody else thinks they deserve based on what they've built. And even so, you know, you might build the best guitar in the world, but you're not that good at, you know, speaking for myself, I'm not that good at making friends with people. I am online. In person, I'm horrific. Really, I don't understand it. I must be an arsehole. But yeah, you can build the best guitar but not be good at selling that guitar to the voters. And this is the other thing that we're doing differently this year. We're going to try and give everybody as much promotion as we can. Hey, 4th Avenue Guitars, I am tired, but it's been a good weekend. Day out with Talitha and Orson yesterday, and then a day out with most of the rest of the family today. Alrighty. Okay. Basically, I am pretty much done. Okay, 4th Avenue Guitars. Now this is Enforcing the sale via raffle is not the way to push small builders. The builder needs to have the option to decline the sale if their cost price isn't covered. Some may do very well, some will lose out. Okay, now this is something else that I didn't actually mention. Now this does okay, basically, no, I did mention it. The money will not be paid out until the person who wins the guitar receives it. Okay, now I mentioned that in the video. What I didn't mention, I don't think, I filmed it so many times, is that if the person doesn't receive the prize that they have won, then the raffle system, the raffle software, the raffle company will then, instead of sending the money to GGBO to then be spread throughout wherever, 75% of the cash will go to the raffle winner, with 25% of the cash staying with the raffle company. Okay, i.e. GGBO gets absolutely nothing, the builder of the guitar gets absolutely nothing, but the person who's won the raffle gets cash money. So yes, technically, and it wouldn't be ideal for us because, hey, GGBO wants to do this to you know, the 25% that 25% of the raffle price that goes to GGBO is going to covering, you know, the video making and the time and the editing and all of the effort, and hopefully and also, sorry, giving away all sorts of stuff and courses and things. So, you know, if a builder was to, if the raffle was only to go for 100 quid and the builder pulled out and said, no, I'm not sending my guitar, it would be a stain on the competition because the person entering the raffle wants to receive the guitar. However, there is an out, and that is the out, and I would understand if that was the case. So, yeah, anyway. Do-de-do-de-do. Yeah, so a bunch of people are saying I should have mentioned that in the video. Okay, that's fair enough. That would be very bad publicity for the builder. That's Tornetti Guitars, I assume, talking about what I've just said. Yes, it would be. You know, in the end, the people are voting because, or are raffling because they want that guitar. Now, on past experience with people, you know, even in this place, some people suck. Some people just suck, and it just is what it is. And, you know, if we've got 100 people entering into the professional competition, you're going to have people who, you know, suck. And if you don't want to experience sucky people, then you just need to stay at home in your workshop and not get involved in anything. And definitely don't put on something like this. So, there we go. Not necessarily if you publish a reserve in the raffle. That's what Paul Cook says. I'm not sure if that's possible. It might be possible with the software. I've not looked into that. That's not a good idea. Disclosure up front sounds good. So yeah, that's the thing. I suppose what we say is okay, if it doesn't reach. I like the way you guys think. Okay, so if I need to talk to the raffle company, see if that is something that they do. They will do. But basically, the guitar will be shipped if the builder covers his cost price with their 50%. Anything less than that, and then the person winning will get the whatever 75% of the total raffle price, but not the guitar, and the builder will keep the guitar. And if we announce that in advance, then nobody gets butthurt if somebody has to do that. But also, now the problem is, and this goes straight back to if the builder is a dick. Rule number 1 and 2 is don't be a dick. And no, it doesn't work that way. Wow, I am really tired. Okay, come on then. There's a couple more super chats to go. The issue is not people sucking; it's the small business needing to cover costs to survive. That's not what I'm trying to. That's not what I was trying to imply. It's about the spirit of the competition and what we're doing to help everything grow. So yes, I've very carefully designed this so that I sincerely hope everybody gets more than they would get, and definitely covers their costs, and gets a whole lot of promotion and publicity and video time on my channel in front of my 300,000 subscribers. And I'm doing everything I can do. Seriously, I shouldn't be doing this. From a purely business point of view, I shouldn't do this. It seriously cost Crimson last year. It's taking my time away even more from Crimson Guitars than I should be doing. But I love helping small builders build a career out of it. So I do it. So yeah, that being said, yeah, if they don't cover their costs, then I would say, fine, we need to pre-announce and say, if the guitar doesn't cover, say if the raffle doesn't raise more than 300 quid or 400 quid or whatever it happens to be, then whoever wins the raffle will get cash, and the builder will keep the guitar. And we are going to be absolutely transparent. We're going to be publishing all of the data, all of the monies, all of the raffles will be available, so people can see who made what and all of that. How many raffle tickets were sold, etc., 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 and it's going to be great. So yeah, that is the way around that. Fantastic. Barry Christian says, how do you verify how much the builder's costs are? We say, you've got 300 quid. I can build a guitar for £300. If you go over £300, that's entirely on your Nelly, but that's what it is. And we need to talk about it a little bit, but yeah, as a competition wide, it's like the invitationals are all going to be using the same uncut kit from Crimson. Levels the playing field. You've got a budget, you can do anything you want, you can go way over the budget, but if the raffle is £600 or more, you have to ship the guitar. And if you don't ship the guitar, then you will forever be, shamed, and we will, I don't like saying things like this, but yeah, no, we would say, okay, fine, this is a wrap-up of the competition. We are, 6 months later, and this person is disqualified from ever being in GGBO again because they didn't ship the guitar. Here's a photograph of the person that won this one. Here's a photograph of the person that won this one. It's 99%, I hope 100% positive. But yeah, if you don't play the game properly, then you don't play the game again. And we will say, sorry, this person broke rule number 1 and 2. And there we go. Anyway, I shouldn't talk when I'm tired. Now, okay, Bill Coleman, how you doing? Says, just got classic hookers. You have good taste. Ready to start Descendant Nebula Scion SRP Ben inspired build. Now to learn filming my build and upload. Please, filming suggestions. First of all, check out a video I made this time last year for last GGBO. I did a video where Talitha actually wrote a script for me about everything to do with filming and all of that. Now, my favorite camera is a Canon EOS M6 Mark II for filming. It is incredible. About half the price is the Canon EOS M50 Mark II, which is an incredible camera for less money. Mirrorless camera, small, relatively, yeah, just incredible picture and beautiful. But you don't have to do that. You can use an iPhone, you can use your Android if necessary. These things, you know, they're phenomenal. There are free editing softwares that I talk about that. I am going to do another video about filming and stuff, but that one is out there. Okay, Lisa Harshberger says, JS Trucking wants to know if scratch builders can raffle their guitars too. Yes. Now this is something that I considered and I couldn't quite figure out the mechanics of it. Essentially, anybody who wants to raffle a guitar off in the competition absolutely can do, and we will be putting links on the website for every guitar that is available to raffle, and we will be promoting every single guitar that is available for raffle. We will be sending Instagram posts and stories and email blasts and all of that sort of stuff. We're going to be promoting the hell out of this thing, far more than we did last year. So yes, I'm not entirely sure what the mechanism would be, but I suppose it would be the same way as with the professionals. If you choose to raffle your guitar off, then if you don't cover, for example, if you aren't going to be guaranteed £300 back to cover your costs unless you decide that that is not the reason why you want to raffle it off, then you don't have to send the guitar out, but you know, you'll get 50% of whatever the raffle goes through. Yes. Absolutely. Whew. Ian M says, dare I say it, if I was a pro, I wouldn't mind some loss, but I can't choke off $1,000 in losses if one guy buys one ticket. No, I absolutely agree with you. And this is something that I considered and I couldn't wrap my head around it. And I am incredibly happy that you guys have figured out how to sort that out. Fourth Avenue says £300 is very low. We could all build for that, but if it's a showcase piece designed to advertise your brand, would you? I don't know, maybe 400, but you know, we're not talking about your time. Your time is being, okay, it's exactly what I think it was Ian just said. It is about advertising your company. It is about getting in front of an audience of people who are interested in guitars and hopefully interested in owning guitars. They're entering into a raffle to get a custom guitar. You know, it is about having your business, your website, your socials forevermore on a website about guitar building and about a guitar building competition. And yes, it is also about covering your costs. Now, by £300, I am saying hardware. I am not saying time. I am not saying profit. Yes, 300 quid, you can buy yourself a good set of pickups. You can buy yourself some pretty nice, damn good quality wood, frets and tuners. Okay. Everything you do after that is just part of the game. Okay. And yeah, you aren't necessarily going to recoup all of your time as cost, but you're not, because you're paying for all of the other stuff that we've talked about. Hopefully you are. Hopefully you're going to have, you know, 1,000 people Rabnox is saying here, just charge £5 per ticket for the raffle, which actually kind of makes sense. It really does. Anyway, too tired. 30D, Ian, wow. Yeah, that is a bit old. 250D is great as well. So I've got a couple of 250Ds. They're relatively inexpensive, but I really, really like what they are. Mr. Waffle says, Ben is getting grumpy. I need to, yeah. Ian M says, to be fair, $500 is about £300. Am I really getting grumpy? I am so tired. We're talking about £300, people. So about, yeah, there we go. Okay. Rob Phoenix says, yeah, the way I see it is this. You have to promote the heck out of yourself. How many guitars have been built and never get sold? Will this thing while he plays some Pokemon? That sounds awesome. Would Crimson consider selling neck kits that are not F-types? Yes, Patrick, absolutely. Drop us an email. Tornelli Guitar says, Ben, the best way you can support us small pros is to have a pro category with the same rules as Scratch. We can't do that. It is a completely different story. It is also about raising money for GGBO. It is also about raising money to do what we want to do. And, you know, there is a cost. And that cost is 25% of the raffle earnings from a professional guitar. And if you can't see that what I'm trying to do is more important than, or that what we're trying to do here as a community is worth it, then it really isn't for you. Now, I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if we're going to get enough professional builders in. And if we don't, yeah, maybe I will just say, okay, fine, we change the rules. But at that point, we won't be able to afford the editing time to make videos on the Crimson channel. We won't be able to afford it, period. And it goes back to what it was, and it's not actually going to be the professionals have the same rules as the scratch builders. It's going to be that professionals aren't allowed to compete, period, I think. But anyway, again, I'm I'm tired and ratty at this point, so I need to go for it. Busy day tomorrow, that's it. Okay. So £300 is $407.60 according to Divergent. Okay. Well, look, honestly, I just pulled 300 quid out of my my rear end. I am so out of touch with pricing up guitars and with how much materials cost and all that, that they don't allow me to price guitars up. I'm not allowed to quote customers at Crimson. So yes, there is, maybe it's £500, but maybe it's £400. I don't know. We need to think about that. This isn't something that I had thought about at all before the stream. Okay, David Glynn Guitars, you're absolutely correct. Now, definitely bedtime for Ben, especially considering we've got tomorrow. Ian, yes. Ian says, Ben, I must say I appreciate the taking the time for the constructive criticism. Most wouldn't bother. Seriously, if this isn't something that people want to be involved in, then I don't want to waste my time doing it. And if people are criticizing it and taking the time to criticize it, I have to listen so that we can make it as good as it humanly can be. You know, I could so easily do this for profit. I could so easily completely take this thing away from the reason we started it in the first place and say, okay, fine, You have to use Crimson Guitars kits. And yeah, it's only going to be maybe 30 or 40 people entering the whole thing, but you know, you would have bought 30 or 40 Crimson kits and I'd have a few £100 more, or a few £1,000 more, etc. But I don't want to. I want to listen to you guys. I want to have a community. I want to have this thing be awesome. There's another super chat. Tommy Transplant. Ben just fetched a stunning piece of Sinker cypress. It was underwater 3 days ago. Any advice for drying it? Slowly. I have no experience drying Sinker wood, but slowly. Do not put it in a kiln. Okay, whatever you do. Leave it outside under a tarpaulin with lots of airflow and let it do its stuff as a log for a year or two. Then chainsaw or get somebody with a big saw to plank it up and sticker it. But honestly, don't take my word for it. There are books, there are other people on YouTube. Hit up bloody hell, I'm tired. Matt Cremona. Hit up Matt Cremona on YouTube. He's the man. Alrighty. Yeah, we're hoping to get magazines involved, but we don't have them voting this year, so we'll see how that goes. E.R. Webster's coming with $5, says, a Pinefield troubles in dealing with all this. It's appreciated. Have a great evening. Thank you very much. Rob Phoenix says, Ben, you are never going to have a system that keeps all happy. I'm in it for the goals of the whole GGBO idea. Thank you very much. I do agree there's always going to be people that aren't happy, but it is what it is. Okay, oh, come on. Milk Chemistry says, I dropped one of my antique Marple's chisels and it snapped. Do you know how to fix it? You could potentially braze it back together again. Now, I am not... Brazing is actually... I want to do some courses this year and learn some new skills. Brazing is one of the things I want to learn. So, yeah, check that out. Interesting one. It's already slabbed, so it's taking up indoor space until later. Okay. Yeah, basically, if you dry it too fast, it will shatter, it will crack, and you will lose all of the wood. Maybe inside is too soon. I think it needs to be damp and slowly lose its moisture. But yeah, you need to look into that. Oh, I see. Yeah. No, I do think £1 tickets is the way it goes, and we just have to. Okay. So the other thing is we could potentially say that. Okay. We did end up talking about GGBO in the end, didn't we? Okay. Now, the final thing is, I could limit it to £1. And that's it. I.e., anybody on the raffles site comes in and you're only allowed to buy one £1 ticket per raffle, and that's your vote. Okay, and that limits it. Or we could say, fine, you can buy as many tickets as you want. You could spend £100. You could spend £300. You could spend £500 trying to support this young builder, this new builder, this professional builder, this fender. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But no matter how much you spend, it's only one vote. But you are more likely to win the guitar. That there is the idea. We have reached a consensus, and yeah. It is. So basically, we can see how many people bought tickets. we're not going to artificially limit how much they can spend. So it's two things. The person buying anything is voting for that build. Fine. If you get 50 people to vote, that's only 50 quid. If you get 50 people to vote, it's 50 votes for you, but it could be £5,000. There's no need to limit the amount of money that they are putting in. I think that makes sense. Jake Richard says, Ben, I'll teach you to weld. You teach me to build beautiful guitars. Welding or welding and brazing, because, yeah, two things. Very tempting. Very, very tempting. Zach Edison said, Ben, with each section of the raffle, a wise man has many counsels. With each section of the raffle, quotation marks, a wise man has many counsels. I have used this most of my life. Get many people who are knowledgeable. You will hear almost a single voice guiding you. Well, this is what we're doing now. I have spoken to so many people about this, and you've all seen the video. You've all seen, you know, what we came up with. And even when I was writing that, we were sitting 4 or 5 of us around the computer, making small changes, and honing it and finessing things. And this is what this conversation is now. This is, hey, what do you think? And most of it's fine. It's the final little voting thing and the professional thing. So that's 2 changes that I'm absolutely willing to make based on what you guys think. Kevin Harvey agrees, multiple tickets but only 1 vote. That's the best way to do it. That's from Will's Edema. Ian M says, cheers all, I'm off to finish racing a fretboard. Start with a hand plane. It's the easiest thing. Okay. Fine. We're done. Should you apply stain before or after gluing a set neck? After. Okay. Everybody, thank you so very much for your support and for putting up with me in a tired and obviously slightly grumpy state. I am really happy with the end result though. I think that this is the way to do it. So yes, we are going to limit the vote, i.e. it's all going to be done on the raffle system. Every single builder will have a raffle on the raffle website. The professionals and the invitationals will actually be raffling the guitars off that they made. And if the professionals are not going to cover their costs, we will work out what that cost happens to be. According to you guys, it needs to be more than £300, so maybe 400, £450, something around about that. That will be their basic thing. If they're not going to see that back with their 50%, then we will, they will not be forced to ship the guitar out. But yeah, and that's that. And then the final thing with regards to the voting is absolutely that we're not going to limit the voting to £1 per vote. It will be 1 vote per person, no matter how much you spend. And yeah, it is what it is. There we go. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm off to bed. Good night.